My dear, your heart glows too loud for a world that doesn't even look up. You smile like nothing's wrong, while they aim knives at your back. They're planning storms while you pray for rainbows. Your kindness is loud. Their cruelty is quieter but sharper. They adore your innocence only because it makes you easier to break. You walk barefoot where wolves have sharpened their teeth. You trust faces that were born to lie. You sleep in a forest that feeds on dreamers. Your purity blinds you to the venom behind their praise. You see petals where there are only blades. You keep dancing in a room where everyone's loading their guns. They hug you like angels, but think like demons. Your light is holy, but it makes you a target. You love out loud in a room full of silencers. You don't see it, how they envy your spirit before they crush it. You're surrounded by hunters who smile when you bleed. Your soul is magic, and they want it caged. You offer your heart to hands already holding knives. You call them friends. They call you a story. You speak truth to those fluent in deception. They laugh with you, but plan your ruin in whispers. You carry hope in a world allergic to it. They pretend to love you so they can study your glow. You're at peace in a war zone, unaware you're the target. You fall asleep beside people who dream of your downfall. You bloom while they mix poison in your roots. You trust eyes trained to mimic sincerity. They love your light, but only because they want to steal it. You keep asking for love. They only understand control. You whisper prayers in a house built on secrets. You still believe in loyalty. They only perform it. You see oceans in people who only bring drought. Your innocence is a mirror. It exposes them. They study your toil like a map, looking for where it breaks. You think they care. They're just collecting your secrets. You gift your heart to those who don't even want your name. You love like it's safe. They use it like it's currency. You give warmth to hands that only know how to freeze. You smile through a fire they set. You trust too early and shatter too quietly. You're real in a room full of rehearsed love. You hand them stars. They trade you shadows. You dance like they're watching when they're actually plotting. You still believe silence means peace. It often means planning. You cry for them. They practice their goodbye. You think they miss you. They're just bored. You don't notice the masks, only the eyes. They touch your skin while despising your soul. You were raised on love. They were raised on leverage. You are peace, but they crave chaos. You stay loyal to hearts that left long ago. You think you're safe. They're just waiting. You're trying to build. they're waiting to demolish. You sleep with faith, they sleep with motives. You think they're listening, they're just gathering evidence. You give them grace, they weaponize your kindness. You're teaching love, they're rehearsing betrayal. You chase forever, they're chasing access. You believe they're healing, they're just hiding. You're open, they're opportunistic. You trust the silence, it's where they write your ending. You think you're seen, they see what they can use. You're in love, they're in disguise. You see connection, they see control. You see a future, they see a loophole. You call them honest, they just haven't been caught. You love deeply, they love conveniently. You give time, they count what they're owed. You pour truth, they drink lies. You think they care, they just calculate. You think it's destiny, they think it's leverage. You hand them joy, they plant seeds of ruin. You trust their words, they borrow your silence. You wait, they wander. You feel it's sacred, they feel it's disposable. You look for signs, they leave traps. You think they'll choose you, they already have themselves. You pray, they plot. You see forever, they see an exit. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. You offer peace, they thrive in chaos. You believe the best, they hide the worst. You think they're lost, they're just lying. You feel its fate, they feel its convenience. You stay up thinking, they sleep soundly. You try to fix it, they try to flee it. You break gently, they leave abruptly. You heal alone, they celebrate elsewhere. You write poems, they read them like receipts. You remember every detail, they forget your name. You carry love, they carry options. You bring depth, they skim surfaces. You stay loyal, they stay curious. You wait for closure, they wait for a reaction. You make room, they make excuses. You show up, they show off. You hold space, they hold grudges. You crave meaning, they crave control. You think it's sacred, they think it's strategy. You're hoping, they're hiding. You confess your heart, they memorize your weaknesses. You crave warmth, they offer mirrors. You think they're protecting you, they're just pretending. You bare your soul, they build escape routes. You see beauty, they see an advantage. You think it's safe, they're just quiet. You think it's love, it's strategy. You hand them trust, they weigh its price. You bring light, they fear exposure. You're innocent, they're invested in your downfall. You write futures, they erase you mid-sentence. You love sincerely, they love selfishly. You believe them, they believe in convenience. You hold them gently, they hold you temporarily, you reach out. They retract with calculation. You give chances, they collect power. You believe this is healing, they're rehearsing harm. You glow, they strategize how to dim you. You give grace, they exploit it. You show wounds, they look for the softest spot. You stand still, they circle like predators. You think it's mutual, they think it's a game. You hand them your fears, they feed on them. You offer peace, they weaponize it. You welcome them, they study your locks. You speak softly, they record your voice for later. You dream, they strategize. You hope, they hover. You think it's growing, they're pruning you for gain. You love in detail, they remember in summary. You give your heart, they test your limit. You name them safe, they name you naive. You give answers, they look for loopholes. You offer forever, they keep a backup plan. You're pure, they're patient. You think they care, they think you're convenient. You stay, they stall. You share, you're studied. You serve love, they serve illusions. You light candles, they cast shadows. You open doors, they peek for exits. You stay soft, they grow sharper. You long for peace, they long for power. You trust the silence, it was bait. You listen, they lie. You forgive, they reset the trap. You bloom, they bottle your petals. You carry depth, they fear drowning. You name it real, they name it useful. You gift loyalty, they invoice you. You think they stay, they think you'll wait. You see the stars, they see your blind spot. You touch with soul, they touch with strategy. You think it's sacred, they see statistics. You water them, they drain you. You whisper truths, they amplify your silence. You expect presence, they practice absence. You kiss with meaning, they kiss with masks. You melt, they measure. You wait, they wander deeper into someone else. You're patient, they're plotting. You wish, they withdraw. You feel fire, they feel control. You offer forever, they gamble. You see connection, they see conquest. You are whole, they aim to hollow. You trust because you mean it. They trust because it works. You want understanding, they want leverage. You write poetry, they read contracts. You say, we, they say, until. You soften, they sharpen. You stay curious, they stay cruel. You name love, they name liability. You hand your heart, they hand a stopwatch. You surrender, they study. You hope out loud, they translate it into access. You hold on, they lean out. You rise, they rehuil. You see fate, they see fantasy. You heal, they hide. You offer comfort, they record your patterns. You open arms, they scan for your weak spot. You give without counting, they calculate every breath. You thought it was love, it was research. You forgive fast, they store your reactions. You build dreams, they map your downfall. You believe their pauses, they're decoding your silence. You think it's mutual, they think it's leverage. You listen deeply, they rehearse deception. You show up, they show resistance. You name them home, they name you temporary. You touch softly, they flinch at your purity. You call it destiny, they call it distraction. You ask for nothing, they expect everything. You speak truth, they weaponize your words. You think you're loved, they're keeping score. You reach out, they reach around you. You stay kind, they stay cunning. You whisper dreams, they dissect them. You think it's over, they're still extracting. You crave connection, they crave control. You want meaning, they want motion. You speak gently, they hear weakness. You trust timelines, they trust tactics. You name it fate, they name it a phase. You pour light, they siphon it. You bring warmth, they measure your heat. You tell secrets, they write scripts. You surrender, they supervise. You ache honestly, they echo it back empty. You seek safety, they study escape. You offer roots, they clip the branches. You say forever, they bookmark you. You imagine beginnings, they plot endings. You walk with heart, they walk with hesitation. You crave union, they crave upper hand. You crave presence, they crave patterns. You were whole, they needed a hole. You let them in, they lock you down. You share light, they tell yours first. You smile, they scan. You cry softly, they take notes. You love loudly, they listen for exits. You make space, they move the walls.